Good morning, I'm Wendy Burke and this is the CBC Morning Report for Monday, September 13th. In our top story, the COVID cases among the under 18 age group population in Barbados are of great concern to the head of medical services at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, pediatrician Dr. Clyde Cave. I spoke with Dr. Cave for Morning Report and he said the rise in the incidence of children with COVID is definitely on their radar.
It is concerning because we have always known that children can catch COVID. With the Delta variant, it seems more likely for them to catch it. It is still very true that when children and younger people get the virus, they tend to be less severely affected, less symptomatic. They still can spread it, but whenever you have increasing numbers, even of people who are not severely affected, there are always going to be those outliers. So if 0.1% are the severe ones and you only have 10 patients, then you're not probably going to see it. If it's 0.1% and you have 1,000 patients, then those rare ones are going to show up. So we are concerned, and prevention is always better than having to deal with sick people.
The latest number of under 18s who tested COVID-19 positive was 16. And when asked about the role of the vaccination in this young demographic, he said it was a key tool in the arsenal of protection. Morning Report quizzed him about any adverse reactions which could come about from the vaccine in this age group.
You have to be really careful when you read about vaccine reactions. Of course, with any needle stick, you're going to get redness and soreness and a bit of tiredness, maybe a low-grade fever. Let's discard all that as a possible complication of any shot, because that's not really concerning. If it's your arm and you have a low pain tolerance, that's your individual thing. But medically, it's not really a concern. What we're talking about is more serious side effects, and the one that is in the popular press now is in teenage boys and potential effects on the heart with myocarditis and pericarditis. Those are conditions where you have inflammation of the heart. And a lot of words are being written and ideas shared, and many of them out of perspective. A viral myocarditis is something that we have known about for a long time. It happens to some unlucky children with the flu or a cold. It happens in other kinds of infection. And that's when the immune system, in fighting off the virus, there is some kind of cross effect and the heart is affected. This is extremely rare in COVID, but it has been documented to happen. And obviously there are increasing reports in large countries like the US, but that would be expected because now is when you're starting to vaccinate those younger people. So now is when it would show up. There has always been a background activity from other viruses and other things of a myocarditis. What the experience has been in those very few and rare instances is that myocarditis tends to be self-resolving. It presents with a bit of chest tightness, maybe shortness of breath, chest pain. So after a vaccine, these things have to be taken seriously and checked out.
The issue of the treatment and welfare of COVID-positive children was also raised, and while at the isolation or quarantine facilities. And Dr. Cave pointed out that all the necessary precautions and provisions are made for the care and mental well-being of the children.
The child is always accompanied by a parent or an accredited chaperone. So there may be reasons. So for example, if a single parent is torn between multiple children and there is a godmother or a grandparent, preferably a young, fit person who is able and willing to accompany that child into isolation, those special arrangements are made. In primary isolation, which is the most intensive care, that would be equivalent to a well child being in the pediatric intensive care unit. So a parent wouldn't be expected to stay in 24 hours. But obviously, some form of communication and access would be desirable. And step down care, I know there are some facilities for group rooms, and every effort obviously would be made to accommodate that, because health of the family includes mental health, social well-being, as well as any physical ill effects.
Next on CBC Morning Report, updates on the COVID-19 pandemic. Welcome back to the Morning Report. The head of Barbados' isolation facilities says it feels as if the country is 5 minutes away from entering a COVID-19 storm. Dr. Corey Ford, in an interview with Lisa Lord of the Public Affairs Department, says healthcare providers are stretched as the numbers of COVID-19 patients are currently not coming down appreciably.
They only have finite amount of resources. And you can't work people above and beyond and burn themselves out, because then you're just going to lose the battle. You're going to crash, basically. So I think the focus has to be on, getting nurses to come forward to assist in the area, but also recognize that despite that, them coming forward for the isolation facilities, there still needs to be a continuous level of care within the community. There's still diabetes. There's still hypertension. There are still people who have heart attacks and strokes and pulmonary embolisms. There are people who still have those things, and they still need that level of care as well. So although we need them in isolation, we also need nurses as well within the general hospital system. Within our polyclinic sector, it still has to continue. Vaccinations with other vaccines need to continue. Maternal health care needs to continue. People who come to fast track, for example, that still needs to continue. So this is why health systems globally have overrun. I don't think there's any country on earth that has gotten this totally correct. But I think we'll learn as we go along, and we have to put the resources in places which are going to take care of all of every single Barbadian. And I think that's generally and honestly where we're going.
Dr. Ford notes the new Delta variant has changed the game, which hasn't left Barbados in a good place. He strongly reiterated Barbadians' need to be vaccinated.
Delta has changed the landscape of what we think. And there may be other variants. The longer we take to get vaccinated and stop some of the spread of these variants, the longer we will remain in this sort of state globally. Delta has changed that platform for us. Delta is extremely transmissible. Like extremely transmissible, Lisa. Extremely transmissible. If I live in a household and one person has Delta, and nobody's wearing a mask, and the person's coughing or sneezing or talking or singing because they're feeling well and they're singing like normal, you could be assured that everybody in that household is like that. And I will tell you, that's what Harson's Point looks like. Families in droves are coming down with COVID. If one get missed, they'll get caught in 5 days on a repeat test. You're having multiple families across the country being admitted to the facility. And people within those families are getting ill. Because people don't, I don't get it. Like, people don't actually, some people say, oh, it's fake. I'm like, it's not fake. I don't sleep at night sometimes. My staff don't sleep at night sometimes. It's not fake. I will take you in, and if I could show you the cameras and show you what's inside, and I told some of the others in the balcony when I talked to the patients yesterday, I will take you down there, some young ones who are looking at me, and show you the consequences of COVID-19. It's real.
Additionally, the infectious disease specialist says Bajans can forget about a return to normalcy anytime soon.
People see things on television in other countries and they believe it can happen here. Everybody wants to continue life as normal. But let me tell you today, straightforward, things are not normal at this point. That's not fear-mongering, that's reality. They're not normal. And people have to stand up and do what they need to do to get us out of this storm that we are going into. They got to get vaccinated. They got to wear your mask. You got to social distance. If you don't have to go this place, don't go. Stay home. If the kids don't go and run about, because the kids can go run about with somebody else's child and bring it back into the household, and poor granny in the household, whether she's vaccinated or unvaccinated, is going to take a hit. And that's exactly what's happening, right? This is real. This is for real.
62 people, 29 females and 33 males are the latest COVID-19 cases. The 62 new cases comprise 46 people who are 18 years old and over and 16 under the age of 18. There are currently 697 people in isolation. To date, 120,269 people have received first doses under the National Vaccination Program for COVID-19, while 96,345 are fully vaccinated. Even after getting their first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine, it appears health officials in Guyana say people are lagging in coming out for their second jab. They're reminded the second dose ensures they're fully vaccinated.
We have a lag, so we are doing well with the first dose at 63.8%. Of course, we want that to go up because we got to get closer to 80-85% for us to start achieving some sense of herd immunity. But despite that, the first dose, people are coming. At least we are getting 2,000-3,000 persons a day coming out to get their first dose. But there's a corresponding lag. So people take the first dose and people are not coming back for the second dose. And if you are only partially vaccinated, meaning you only got one dose out of a 2-dose regimen, then you're not going to get full protection. And I want people to understand that. So having one dose does not fully protect you. It will give you some level of protection, but you wouldn't get full protection.
During his daily COVID-19 update on Thursday, Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony appealed for persons to get their second jab of the COVID-19 vaccines, making it clear that receiving one dose does not fully protect against the harsh effects of the coronavirus. The health minister said that enough second doses of the Sinopharm and AstraZeneca vaccines are available. And with approximately 30,000 persons due for their second jab of the AstraZeneca vaccine, he urged them to get vaccinated. As it relates to the Sputnik V second component, the minister explained that when the government receives the next shipment, it will be rolled out immediately.
An element of mistrust and fear in Myanmar, the black market is thriving with requests for COVID vaccines.
COVID-19 patients are being treated inside this private facility that used to be a boxing stadium. It was converted into a treatment center by a group of businessmen in Yangon and is run as a not-for-profit enterprise. The idea came about as Myanmar was experiencing its third and most deadly wave of coronavirus, which peaked in July.
We saw that people were in trouble. They could not get a place in government hospitals, and they'd have to pay a lot of money to go to private hospital. Some died as they did not get enough oxygen supply.
After the military coup in February and the subsequent crackdown on healthcare workers for being one of the first groups to protest against the new rule, health services deteriorated.
During the first and second waves, both government and private COVID-19 facilities could help the people. But during the third wave, due to the political situation, people cannot receive proper medical facilities. Even before the COVID-19 third wave, people didn't go to the hospitals for other diseases as there were insufficient human resources.
Many people also came to distrust state-run facilities. This treatment centre plugs a gap in the healthcare system. But it's not a fully functioning hospital, and patients who take a turn for the worse will still have to go to a hospital. However, families who have relatives in the centre tell us they'd still rather send their loved ones here.
We don't want to go to public hospitals. We have 3 patients at home. We're not able to opt for private hospitals because they're too expensive. That's why we're here.
For some, the distrust in authorities has extended to distrust in the government's vaccination program. Some are now opting to purchase India-made vaccines on the black market. This post on social media is advertising a vial of vaccine for approximately $400, 8 times its usual price. Latest available figures last month show that only 3.3% of Myanmar's population was fully vaccinated. Military rulers say they aim to have at least half the population inoculated by the end of the year.
Time for a preview on what's coming up on Morning Barbados. And for that, we welcome Pearson Bowen. Pearson?
Thank you, Wendy. Good morning, everyone. Coming up today, Monday, as you know, is Mondays when we look at our conversations on CARICOM. Today we want to find out what are some of the outcomes of last week's Africa-CARICOM summit, along with some other issues in CARICOM. We'd also today meet a young woman who from very young determined that she was very much pro-life, and so she stumbled upon a number of her other friends who together have formed now a charity called Unborn Justice. How does that charity work, and what are some of the success stories that we'll encounter when we talk to them? Also today we meet a couple of young men who have written their first novel. Yep, fictional, but it's going to be graphic, and certainly we want to hear about that process with them too. So just a little bit of what's coming up when you join me here on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Wendy.
Thanks, Pearson. We'll see you at the bottom of the hour. We'll take another break and return with more news. And we're back with the morning report. A 75-year-old man drowned yesterday afternoon in the waters off the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex. Police Public Relations Officer, Acting Inspector Rodney Innes, says the man was identified as Joseph Harris of Barber's Gardens, Barber's Hill, St. Michael.
We received a report via our operations control room. The caller reported that there was a lifeless body of a man in the careenage located here at the Barbados Fisheries Complex in Bridgetown. That was around 2:30 p.m. We promptly responded to the scene. We got here within 7 minutes or so, and we gained access. We spoke to the security here at the complex, who did say he called the police as well. He was notified by a fisherman. That fisherman said he went to his boat, and on visiting his boat, he saw the body of a gentleman floating, of an elderly man, floating face down in the water.
Inspector Innes says personnel from the Barbados Coast Guard retrieved Harris's body from the water, and he was pronounced dead by a medical doctor who visited the scene. His body was identified by a close family member. In the Bahamas, there are fears the upcoming general election will be a super spreader of COVID-19. Queries have been expressed whether the elections will be held in a safe manner after thousands lined up to vote recently in advanced polling.
Democratic National Alliance Deputy Leader Stephen Nesbitt watched scores of elderly voters line up to vote at Sadie Curtis Primary School Thursday morning. Lines were long, leaving little space between voters, and that was only on the outside. Nassau Village Independent candidate Halson Moultrie says he saw several red flags in the polling areas.
I noticed that everybody is submerging their thumb in the ink, and there's no sanitizing process with that respect. So it's possible for the ink to get contaminated.
Moultrie says attempts were made to sanitize pencils used for voting, but he's not sure that's sufficient in the midst of a COVID-19 surge.
I see they're spraying those pencils with Lysol spray. I don't know if that is effective or sufficient, but at least they're attempting to do something. They're asking people to lower their masks so that they can identify them properly, and they would have given them the pen already or the pencil already. Then they have to lower their mask and put it back up after they've sanitized and after they receive the pencil.
So how do you conduct safe elections in the midst of a pandemic? Suriname held general elections on May 25th, 2020. According to the International Foundation for Electoral Systems, instead of using a shared ink pot for voters, poll workers dabbed ink on voters' fingers with cotton. As for quarantined voters, they were allowed to vote at a separate polling station. New Zealand held general elections on October 17, 2020. An electoral commission was established to ensure all 2.8 million voters were safe, and more voting centers were established to allow for more physical distancing. An IFES report says voters in quarantine were able to vote by a telephone dictation service. Here, Moultrie says returning officers were left to use their discretion when it came to quarantined or COVID-positive voters.
The Federal Bureau of Investigations in the United States has released a newly declassified 16-page document related to logistical support provided to two of the Saudi hijackers in the run-up to the September 11, 2001 attacks.
The highly redacted files describe contact that the hijackers had with Saudi citizens, but gave no evidence that the government in Riyadh was complicit in the attacks that killed nearly 3,000 people. The newly declassified papers were released on the 20th anniversary of the attacks. U.S. President Joe Biden signed an executive order earlier this month to release the papers. Let's get more now from Rosalind Jordan, who is live in Washington, D.C. I mean, obviously a long time coming, this release. What's the reaction of the families been so far?
See, we told you so. This one document, an FBI report from 2004, contains information, although a lot of it has been blocked out or redacted in government speak. And it talks about how two of the 19 hijackers, Nawaf al-Hazmi and Khavad al-Mathar, were both given assistance by a man who turns out worked for the Saudi consulate in Los Angeles in the late 90s and early 2000s. The person who was interviewed by the FBI said that his engagement with them was happenstance, but that as a good Muslim, it was his obligation to help them find housing and get food and get transportation because they were new to the country, and that's what people do for their fellow co-believers. Now, The article also goes on to point out that there were other contacts with other people who had connections or business with the Saudi consulate, and that some of that engagement also involved getting Al-Hazmi and Al-Mida here to the Washington area, where they also were given housing and assistance to get around the area. Now, while the families argue that because of these contacts, they couldn't purely be coincidental, they say this bolsters their lawsuits against the Saudi government for compensation for the loss of their loved ones. However, the Saudi government has repeatedly said that it did not have anything to do with the 9/11 plot and that it supported the Biden administration's decision to declassify this and other documents that should be released in the coming weeks and months.
In sports, defending champions Trinbago Knight Riders have qualified as #1 seeds for the 2021 Heroes CPL semifinals. TKR, along with St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots and the Guyana Amazon Warriors, have all finished the preliminaries on 12 points, but TKR have the best net run rate of the three. The defending champs defeated hosts, the Patriots, in last night's final prelim at Warner Park by 4 wickets. The Pats batted first and made 147 for 7 off their 20 overs. Joshua Da Silva top scored with 50, that included 5 fours and a 6, while Ali Khan took 3 for 19. TKR responded with 150 for 6 in 19 overs. Player of the match, Kieron Pollard, smashed 3 fours and 5 sixes in a 22-ball 51. The result means Trinbago Knight Riders will face 4th place St. Lucia Kings in their first semi-final tomorrow at 10 a.m., while Patriots, who finished in 3rd, will face Guyana Amazon Warriors in the other semi-final at 2:30 p.m. Both fixtures will be live on CBC TV 8. The Barbados Royals signed off of CPL 2021 with an 8-wicket victory over the St. Lucia Kings yesterday. Chasing 191 for victory, the Royals finished on 191 for 2 with 7. Of the CPL last evening. The Warriors opted to bat first and recovered from 75 for 7 to post 142, or the same 7 off their allotted 18 overs after the match was affected by rain. Player of the match for Mario Shepard was brutal with an unbeaten 72 off 31. Imad Wasim took 3 for 15. In reply, the Talawas were bowled out for 128 in 17.1 overs. Odin Smith took 3 for 20 and Shepard 3 for 31. The result meant the St. Lucia Kings took the final playoff spot with 10 points, while the Talawas season came to an end as they finished in 5th position on 8 points. And the weather in Barbados at this time. Outside is partly cloudy at this point and the temperature is 26.4 degrees Celsius. Our low tide will be at 8:50 a.m. and a second low tide at 8:32 p.m. High tide will be at 1:57 p.m. In terms of the seas, if you're heading to the beach, it will be moderate in open water with swells ranging from 1 to 1.5 meters and our forecast for today, sunny with cloudy periods with some intermittent scattered moderate to heavy showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms during the afternoon. We'll see a mix of clear skies and clouds with occasional brief scattered light showers later tonight. In the Lesser Antilles, cloudy to overcast with a few scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. Tonight in the Lesser Antilles, it will be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with some scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. And here's a forecast of the international cities. That's our weather. And Morning Barbados starts now. Over to you, Pearson.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, Barbados. Good morning. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Morning to you.
Indeed, good morning to you everyone, everywhere. Welcome to Monday, the 30th of September 2021. I am Pearson Bowen, welcoming those of you watching us from Barbados on your TV screens and everywhere across the world via our YouTube channel and our Facebook streams as well. Good you can join us today. Today is Monday, and so today we'll meet a young woman who has a passion for making a difference through branding. And so she's formed her dynamic digital marketing company. How is she working out on that one? And then today as well, we meet a young Barbadian woman who is residing in Birmingham, the UK, who has just started her own Caribbean cinema pop-ups. That sounds exciting. She'll tell us about that journey too. I want to remind you as well that we are just a matter of days away from the start of UNTAD 15 in Barbados, October 3rd to 7th and 3rd to 5th, and certainly you want to be a part of it in those pre-conference seminars that are going on. There are a number of four that are on. Today we start with the Global Commodities Forum. Today until the 15th for inequality and vulnerability to prosperity for all. That is on, but you need to participate by signing up via untad15.org. untad15.org to be a part of today's Global Commodities Forum. It runs for a couple of days, but it's going to be rich in information. Let's get this Monday started by our conversations on CARICOM. We're always pleased to be joined by Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM, His Excellency David Commichon. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Pearson. It's a pleasure to be here.
Always. And last week we had one historic moment in the Africa-CARICOM summit. We all sat, we watched it, we listened, we got to see the faces behind the names, and so we got to hear also the thinking of each of those contributors as well. What do you see to be the takeaways from that summit?
Yes, well, you know, I've been saying for a long time that we simply need to bring together the leaders of Africa and CARICOM around the table to talk to each other, and many good and positive things are going to come out of that exercise. And so said, so done. I think the most important proposal was that we establish a permanent forum of African, Caribbean territories and states, FACTS, F-A-C-T-S, and that we should give the Secretariat of the Caribbean Community and the Secretariat of the African Union a 6-month period to work out the charter for that new organization, to work out the operational modalities of how the new organization would work, to give them 6 months to concretize all of that. So you know, it begins with that. It begins with an institutional structure, a permanent institutional structure that we can then use to pursue all of the wonderful projects that were put on the table, from the direct airline flights to the mass communications platform, to the trade linkages, to the collaboration on the issue of reparations. So to me, it was a very historic event because, you know, for the first time, since we gained our independence, since we established our multilateral organizations, CARICOM, the Organization of African Unity, and now the African Union, we came together, just us, no one else, and we came together simply to discuss our own, our own partnership, the things that bind us together, the common ancestry that we share, and to build something of our very own. And so, yes, very historic, Pearson.
I think, and in watching as well, you felt the solidarity. You actually felt it oozing through the bones of the leaders who presented as well. I also liked what Prime Minister Gaston Brown suggested, let's make September 7th Africa-CARICOM Day. That was interesting. But to be able to see and to hear that we have so much in common, that there's very little that divides us, then Prime Minister Gonzalez's request of the African Union as well to support in the call of the lifting of the embargo on Cuba.
Yes. Well, Gaston Brown, not only that it be Africa-CARICOM Day every 7th of September, but that we use Africa-CARICOM Day every year to bring together our heads of government. I guess sometimes this will probably be done physically, sometimes it will be done virtually, to have a summit. And a summit simply means heads of government coming together to speak together, so that every year we come together, take stock, to look at what kind of progress we are making, maybe to put additional items on the agenda. But that is so wonderful. In fact, what we are doing, we are reconnecting the family. And Pearson, what is going to be critical to all of this is public education.
Yes.
Because some of us are very well aware of the history. Some of us are very well aware that we are family, that we were separated through a process of enslavement, the Middle Passage, and that idea of separating us was designed to weaken us. And so we must have the intelligence to understand that if the separation was to weaken us, then if we want to strengthen ourselves, we must reconnect. And as I said last week, the Barbadians of the 19th century understood that.
Yes.
And as soon as slavery was abolished, they established these Back to Africa organizations and so forth. So yes, but the public education, because there are some of us who may be captive to all the Western propaganda, the stereotyping of Africa. And so I think it's going to be important that we do a lot of popular education in the weeks and months ahead. The other thing about the beauty of, about the solidarity with Cuba, because Cuba is special. Cuba is special because there is no other country on this earth that sent its sons and daughters to actually fight on the soil of Africa for the liberation of the African people. No other country has shed its blood to liberate African people. And so we are talking about the effort that Cuba made from 1975 well into the late 80s in helping to secure the independence of Angola, in helping to fight against racist at that time when South Africa was under the white apartheid regime, helping to dispel white racist South African troops, secure the independence of Namibia, and ultimately secure the freedom of Nelson Mandela and the freedom of South Africa. So in tribute to that contribution, it is only right that CARICOM and the African Union get together and support the termination of that terrible and illegal embargo, Pearson. We need to remember this. For 30 years now, the General Assembly of the United Nations has passed annual resolutions saying to the United States, look, this embargo is illegal, remove it. And they have simply refused to follow what international law prescribes.
Right.
And that brings us really to the solidarity that CARICOM continues to show with Cuba, and the tremendous gesture of solidarity that we made just last week. Friday, I don't know if you saw the pictures, Pearson, of the Conviasa airline landing in Cuba with a tremendous shipment of medical supplies from our countries.
Right, and that just again goes to show how important it is as a region that we do support one another. And in doing that, we bond together to raise that awareness, but we also bond together to step in when the need. And here he is on our screen. We're seeing that shipment of much needed medical supplies by Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis to help our brothers and sisters in Cuba.
Oh, yes. And you know, Pearson, that gesture began with a Barbadian permanent secretary back in, I think, around February of this year, simply asking a question. She looked and she saw television programs that featured some of the difficulties Cuba was going through. And Cuba is going through those difficulties for two reasons. One, the Trump administration, during those 4 years of the Trump administration, they significantly intensified the embargo against Cuba. The Trump administration imposed 240 additional measures tightening the embargo. So that made life more difficult for the Cubans. But then the pandemic came, the COVID-19 pandemic. And Cuba, you know, is a Caribbean economy like Barbados, dependent a lot on tourism. And so just like Barbados, the tourism industry was knocked out. So the Cuban people were faced with that double whammy, the tightened embargo and the pandemic. And so, it really hit the health sector very hard in Cuba. So right now, Cuba has developed its own vaccine, but because of the embargo, there's a dearth of syringes to deliver the vaccine. There's a dearth of ventilators. There's a dearth of personal protective equipment. And so when that Barbados Permanent Secretary asked that question, it set people like myself, it set us thinking, and how can we really be of concrete help to Cuba? And that resulted in Barbados taking a resolution to the CARICOM Foreign Ministers meeting in May for CARICOM to commit that in this difficult scenario, we are going to upgrade our activism to help bring about a termination of that embargo. And it also culminated in this idea that we need to help Cuba with medical supplies. So the Barbados government has made a very big contribution to that shipment that went in. But I can tell you that is not even the totality of our contribution of medical supplies to Cuba. Barbados has a second shipment which we will be delivering. But the Cuban people really need it because the Delta variant has hit Cuba very hard, and the embargo has prevented them from accessing a number of critical medical supplies that they need to save lives. And we heard Dr. Corey Ford yesterday giving great credit to the team of Cuban nurses who are here in Barbados, helping to man our isolation center in St. Lucie, helping to save Barbadian lives. So it's a mutual affair. So, you know, solidarity with each other, helping each other.
The reciprocity is really heartwarming indeed. But you know, there's also going to be a very special summit soon on the COVID-19. The pandemic has really affected everybody everywhere across the world, but particularly us in the Caribbean, small developing states. Tell us a little bit about what we can expect coming up.
Well, it's a special, it's what they call a special emergency heads of government summit, and it's taking place this morning at 11 a.m. So the heads of government of CARICOM are coming together. There's only one item on the agenda, and that item is the COVID-19 pandemic. What more can we do to respond to the pandemic? And the truth is, Pearson, that I mean, things are bad. Things are bad right across the Caribbean. Our numbers have surged. last year, we were doing better than countries like the United States, the UK, Canada. We were doing better than most of the world. That has now been reversed. So our numbers are really surging. And I suspect, Pearson, if you ask, well, what is the reason? Well, countries like the UK, US, and Canada, they have forged ahead with their vaccination programs. In Canada, I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but you're probably looking at something like 80-something, maybe close to 90% of the population having been vaccinated. We, on the other hand, we have lagged behind. And so when these more contagious variants hit us, like the Delta, we are really struggling. So the heads are going to come together. I really believe that, I think that for me, Barbados really has a best practices model of how to deal with COVID. I think we are really going about it the right way. We are prioritizing a lot of communication, a lot of public education. We are trying to avoid divisions in the society over COVID, and our political class has been mature. We have not made it into a political issue, like unfortunately has been done in some of our fellow CARICOM states. And I suspect that all of those issues will come to the table today. But I want to use this little platform just to say to my Barbadian brothers, look, this nonsense about white countries and white entities forcing this vaccine on black people and black countries is total nonsense. In fact, just the opposite is true. The CARICOM countries have actually been deprived. The African countries have been deprived of access to vaccines. In fact, the white countries, the European countries, even the North American countries have been guilty of hoarding the vaccine for themselves, of monopolizing the vaccine. In fact, CARICOM has actually had to appeal to the World Health Organization to hold a global summit on the vaccine apartheid that we are seeing emerging. So we have actually had to plead for vaccines, to do everything possible to get access to vaccines. So it is not true. It is not true that anybody is pushing vaccines at black people or black countries. Just the opposite. So let's get rid of those conspiracy theories and understand that we have to try to protect our people.
Right.
And one of the ways of protection is that vaccine. It's not the only way. There are other ways, the social distancing, the mask wearing, etc. But it is one of the ways.
Ambassador Commercial, we got to leave it there. We've gone over time. I can see the flashing Pearson commercial break. I want to thank you again, as usual, for joining us on Morning Barbados. We are looking forward to next week, Mondays, but we can't wait to hear the outcome of today's Special Heads Summit on COVID-19. This is one I wish we could have peeped in on, so we could hear the discussion there as well, but, maybe another time. Thank you, Ambassador, for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. We're back after this on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 9 minutes now to go to 7 o'clock. Have you ever heard of the charity Unborn Justice? You'll get to hear about it now if you haven't. Joining us is one of the co-founders in Camille Martindale. Good morning to you, Miss Martindale.
Good morning, person. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining us this morning. Unborn Justice, I read a little bit about you, and in it you said that from very young you knew that you were pro-life. What was it about the way pregnancies unfold and abortions that caused you to stand up and say, you know what, at a very young age, I'm pro-life?
I'm not even sure exactly what it is. I think it was just something that was in me. I just remember thinking that, I wanted to do something to protect the unborn. I don't know if it was any particular incident or particular event.
What was it about? I mean, we've heard of certain circumstances where, yes, women step forward and voluntarily decide to terminate a pregnancy. But there are other circumstances when, for whatever reason, whether it's through rape or incest or other circumstances where they want to terminate. Have you given consideration to that as well?
Yes, of course. And our organization, we provide support to women who want to continue their pregnancies, because there are women in circumstances like that, very difficult circumstances. For example, we have a client who was diagnosed with cancer, and she made the brave decision to choose life despite what she would have been advised. And today she has a healthy baby boy, and she has gone through chemotherapy and stuff like that. So there are women, even in those very difficult circumstances, who still want to choose life. And that is what we are there for, to provide that emotional and tangible support to them.
A lot of it is miseducation or misinformation, and sometimes we're not clear on what it is to be bearing a life. Unborn Justice, no doubt, is advocating for people to take some consideration of the fact that you are carrying a human being, a heartbeat. And so what is it that we're not quite getting right that Unborn Justice is seeking to turn around?
So Unborn Justice really wants, as you said, people to understand that this unborn child is a life, and this unborn child has a purpose that has been given to him or her by God. And we really would like to see that every unborn child is given that opportunity to fulfill the purpose that they have. Even in my mother's story, when she became pregnant with me, she didn't want any more children. She was actually applying to uni to continue her studies, and she found out through her medical that she was pregnant. And the nurse told her, don't worry, we could terminate your pregnancy. But she made a decision that she did not want to. And even as I look at me and all that I would have gone on to do, I'm not the only one that has something special that God wants to do in their lives, And so we want people to know that every unborn child, every single unborn child is a person, and has a purpose that has been given to them by God.
Indeed. So how does Unborn Justice work? Do women volunteer? They come to you, or do you reach out? How does it work?
Yeah, so our clients come to us, they find out about our organization through word of mouth or a referral or something like that, but they come to us and we sit down with them, we counsel with them, and we then introduce them to our program.
And so there's a counseling process. They come to you, they identify their particular concern, you counsel them through it, and your support is given as well. Are you working with other organizations, social organizations, in support of that woman?
Well, we, not particularly, no. Well, actually, yes, we do. Sorry, yes, we do. We work with other organizations. For example, we work with Paradox, who helps to provide counseling for some of our ladies and so on.
For a woman who comes forward who says, I'm challenged by this pregnancy, she is in a state, a mental state that needs some kind of resolve. What is it that your organization, your pro-life charity, Unborn Justice, would do in that situation?
In that situation, we would ensure that she has psychological support through counseling, and then our program also has an empowerment component where we teach her about her pregnancy and how to have a safe pregnancy, and then we teach her about parenting and then self-development. Throughout that time as well, she will be assigned a peer counselor who will walk with her hand in hand in terms of preparing for her baby and planning for the future. So that, along with professional counseling, is what we would do for that client.
What about the woman who is challenged by finance? You know, she wants the child, but she acknowledges that she's not able to afford the child. And so she's at that fork in the road where she has to make a decision one way or the other. Is Unborn Justice also looking at a case like that?
Yeah, so in that case, our empowerment program, we provide free baby items as well through that program. So the clients have access to a baby store located at our office that has diapers, wipes, clothing, bottles, you know, the things that a baby needs. We provide a crib, a playpen. We distribute food items on a monthly basis, and we support that woman throughout her pregnancy and after. And our empowerment part of the program is where we focus on getting her equipped to then gain employment and be able to support herself and her baby.
So who supports you, Unborn Justice? Because, you know, you're providing sustenance to people. So who supports you in that provision of sustenance?
Yeah, so we have monthly donors who pledge a certain amount of money for a period of 12 months. And we also are supported by, you know, other organizations give donations. The public in general would donate. We have diaper drives. They would donate diapers and wipes and baby clothing and food and so on. So we are supported right now by the general public, individual donors, and a few organizations.
That's great. So if anyone watching today who wants to join that support drive, how can they do so?
Yeah, so if you would like to donate to Unborn Justice, you can contact us at 266-8473. We are located in the James Ford building in Bridgetown. We're open Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and we accept donations of food items, baby items, and of course monetary donations.
You have your own online presence, your unbornjustice.org, unbornjustice.org. That's where ladies can go find out a little bit more on anyone, really. The telephone number you can see at the top of your screen there, folks, 266-8473, 266-8473. Their mission, their purpose, Unborn Justice's mission is to be the voice for every unborn child, so empower mothers and fathers, and that's what's so absolutely critical. So if you're in that state right now and you're trying to make a decision, one way or the other, check out Unborn Justice and give them a call, 266-8473, or check them out online at unbornjustice.org or Unborn Justice 246 on Facebook and Instagram. Camille, thank you so very much. You and your other cohorts, those of you, your co-founders who have come together to create this charity as well, great work. We wish you only the very best going forward in this very life-changing experience of yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Pearson.
You're very welcome. Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We are at the top of the hour. Time for us to take another look at the news. For that, we turn to Wendy Burke.
Thank you, Pearson. The COVID cases among the under 18 age group population in Barbados are of great concern to the head of medical services at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, pediatrician Dr. Clive Cave. I interviewed Dr. Cave, who said the rise in the incidence of children with COVID is definitely on their radar.
It is concerning because we have always known that children can catch COVID. With the Delta variant, it seems more likely for them to catch it. It is still very true that when children and younger people get the virus, they tend to be less severely affected, less symptomatic. They still can spread it, but whenever you have increasing numbers, even of people who are not severely affected, there are always going to be those outliers. So if 0.1% are the severe ones and you only have 10 patients, then you're not probably going to see it. If it's 0.1% and you have 1,000 patients, then those rare ones are going to show up. So we are concerned, and prevention is always better than having to deal with sick people.
The head of Barbados' isolation facilities says it feels as if the country is 5 minutes away from entering a COVID-19 storm. Dr. Corey Ford, in an interview with Lisa Lord of the Public Affairs Department, says healthcare providers are stretched as the numbers of COVID-19 patients are currently not coming down appreciably.
They only have finite amount of resources. And you can't work people above and beyond and burn themselves out, because then you're just going to lose the battle. You're going to crash, basically. So I think the focus has to be on, getting nurses to come forward to assist in the area, but also recognize that despite that, them coming forward in for the isolation facilities, there still needs to be a continuous level of care within the community. There's still diabetes. There's still hypertension. There are still people who have heart attacks and strokes and pulmonary embolisms. There are people who still have those things, and they still need that level of care as well. So although we need them in isolation, we also need nurses as well within the general hospital system, within our polyclinic sector. It still has to continue. Vaccinations with other vaccines need to continue. Maternal health care needs to continue. People who come to fast track, for example, that still needs to continue. So this is why health systems globally have overrun. I don't think there's any country on earth that has gotten this totally correct. But I think we'll learn as we go along, and we have to put the resources in places which are going to take care of all of every single Barbadian. And I think that's generally and honestly where we're going.
A 75-year-old man drowned yesterday afternoon in the waters of the Bridgetown Fisheries Complex. Police Public Relations Officer Inspector Rodney Innes says the man was identified as Joseph Harris of Barbers Gardens, Barbers Hill, St. Michael.
We received a report via our operations control room. The caller reported that there was a lifeless body of a man in the careenage located here at the Barbados Fisheries Complex in Bridgetown. That was around 2:30 p.m. We promptly responded to the scene. We got here within 7 minutes or so, and we gained access. We spoke to the security here at the complex, who did say he called the police as well. He was notified by a fisherman. That fisherman said he went to his boat, and on visiting his boat, he saw the body of a gentleman floating, of an elderly man, floating face down in the water.
Inspector Innes says personnel from the Barbados Coast Guard retrieved Harris's body from the water, and he was pronounced dead by a medical doctor who visited the scene. His body was identified by a close family member. In sports, defending champions Trinbago Knight Riders have qualified as #1 seeds for the 2021 Heroes CPL semifinals. TKR, along with St. Kitts and Nevis Patriots and Guyana Amazon Warriors, have all finished the preliminaries on 12 points, but TKR have the best net run rate of the three. The defending champs defeated hosts, the Patriots, in last night's final prelim at Warner Park by 4 wickets. The Pats batted first and made 147 for 7 off their 20 overs. Joshua De Silva top scored with 50, that included 5 fours and a 6, while Ali Khan took 3 for 19. TKR responded with 150 for 6 in 19 overs. Player of the match, Kieron Pollard, smashed 3 fours and 5 sixes in a 22-ball 51. The result means Trinbago Knight Riders will face 4th place St. Lucia Kings in the semi-final tomorrow at 10 a.m., while Patriots, who finished in the 3rd, will face Guyana Amazon Warriors in the other semi-final at 2:30 p.m. Both fixtures will be live on CBC TV8. Well, that's it for Morning Report. It's back to you now, Pearson, for Morning Barbados.
Thank you, Wendy. It is now 6 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll take a break here. And when we're back, the Crumbs question of the day.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
All right, we're 8 minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for you to call me on 228-55 or 228-5563. Those are the only two numbers to call. 228-5562 or 228-556. Today's Crumbs question of the day. You answer it correctly and you get a chance to win with Crumbs. The question is, looks familiar, right? What can you get from Crispy's Spitestown that you cannot get from Crispy's Bridgetown? So what is it that you can get from Crispy's Spitestown that you cannot get from Crispy's in Bridgetown? Now, by now, you should have done your research. By now, you should know the answer. My fingers are crossed for you. So, what is it that you can get from Crispy's Spitestown that you cannot get from Crispy's Bridgetown? So, what are those two? There are two things. Two things. What are those two things? 228-5562 and 228-5563. Good morning. Hello.
Yeah, morning. How are you, Pearson?
I'm doing well today. Thank you for asking. How are you doing?
Not bad.
Great, my friend. So I know you're watching. This is Mr. Map Hill.
Yeah, pardon?
This is my friend from Map Hill.
Yeah.
Good. I'm learning the voices. So tell us, what's your answer?
Coffee and ice cream.
You sure with that?
Yeah.
How you know?
Because I know.
No, don't bring that to me. How do you know?
Because the question has been answered already.
The question has been. And you're sure that you remembered coffee and ice cream? You read on the answers every morning?
No, I try to register them in my head.
Yeah, keep the brain ticking, right?
Yeah.
It makes sense to me, but you're absolutely right. You're spot on, man. You're listening well. You're doing very well. Absolutely right, Mr. Map Hill. So you're right. It's when you said coffee and ice cream. Thank you so much. You stay on the phone. Don't put down, okay?
Yeah, you enjoy your day here.
Likewise to you, my friend. Thank you very much. He stays on the line because we're going to take some more details from him, but he's absolutely right. You can get coffee and ice cream from Spitestown. You don't get coffee and ice cream in Bridgetown's Crispies. So at Crispies Spitestown, you get coffee and ice cream. At Crispies in Bridgetown, you do not get coffee nor ice cream. All right, we're going to take a break right here. We are coming back with a whole lot more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 11 and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. Time for us to meet another one of our Barbadians. Her name is Philippa Joseph. She's the wind behind Zai Social, one of the co-founders. Good morning to you, Philippa.
Hi, good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine.
Good. Did I say the name of your business correctly? Zai Social?
Yes, you did. That's kind of a tongue twister sometimes, but it's Zai Social. That's correct.
So tell us about Zai Social.
Okay, Zai Social is an agency which on social media. We actually got founded in the midst of a pandemic. We started last year in August, and the reason we kind of got started is because we saw a lot of small businesses popping up and they were kind of struggling. So we wanted to help small businesses to grow their platform online. Everything is going virtual. So we focus mainly on different strategies for social media to enhance people's brands.
You know, my question is, what is your experience in this, that you can come together and really do this for others?
The experience varies because it's not just me. I have some other co-founders that work. So collaboratively, we come together and we create the plans. We also have that background in marketing where we've had that experience to work with larger brands to kind of understand what's the best strategy to take in the process of developing so that customers can identify with you. So we have that bulk of experience by working with the larger companies and then also as we started smaller companies as well.
You know, it's interesting because a lot of you young people, because you're much younger than I am, you know, you guys exist in a different space from a lot of us older people. And so you see social to be a critical area in which people need to leverage their business. Why do you think that's so?
Because social media, well, I'm not going to come on your age one, but social media is a place where you can just reach people outside of your local region. I can't have my business here in Barbados, but I don't have to just have customers from Barbados. I can have customers from anywhere in the region, anywhere in the world. And that's a cheap and affordable way to get your message out there so that more people can recognize you. And it's definitely on trend as people are using more technology online. Even school is online. Everything is going online. So if you kind of miss out on that social media aspect to get out there and to get growing, you will fall behind and slowly wither away. You have to be.
You know, there are lots of people who operate businesses who think that to invest in branding, invest in social media, invest in advertising, period, is an expense and not a benefit. What do you say to that concept, that thinking?
You need to just window. How can people do? How can people know about you unless you put the word out there and you have some kind of collateral where people can find you? As millennials, which is the new generation that's taking for it, right? If we can't find you if we can't Google you and find you, we're gonna let somebody else. That's as simple as it is. I don't know the last time I used the phone book. Everything, I just go and take out my phone and I just look for that information. So if you're not out there, if you're not promoting your business, yes, word of mouth spreads. You know, when somebody uses your businesses and it spreads, but that can sometimes be slow. So if you want to push that along a little faster, definitely you need to market your brand so that people can find and recognize who you are.
In your mix of marketing, have you included traditional media?
Yes, you still have traditional media. Yes, you know, baby boomers. You still have that area for them to get them on track. They still check their newspapers. Yes. They still go the route of the radio. So definitely that is still something to be incorporated. Not saying that media is dead. That's still there.
Good.
But you just have to try to do a mixture of them all. So social media with your traditional marketing as well.
How has it been going for you though at Zai Social, you know, because it's difficult sometimes to stand out from among everyone else. So how's it been going?
It's been quite an interesting process to get started, even to market our own selves in terms of learning who we want to go after instead of a target market, because, you know, we don't just want to be kind of stuck to one side. So in terms of developing different strategies, it's been a great process, yes, great thing, because we've had our ups and we've had our downs. But how we differentiate ourselves in terms of the commitment level that we have to our clients, the type of relationships that we want to bond. We want to kind of throw our ideas at you. We want to incorporate your vision and mold it to something that would work on a social media platform. So that's kind of one of the ways that we distinguish ourselves.
I was just looking at your Instagram page, I believe it was, and I'm trying to get a sense of what it is that you offer. You offer consultations. It was your website, sorry, that we went to just now, just a moment. I want to look at what you offer as a package. So if I now, my little small business comes to Zai Social for some assistance in leveraging my brand and making sure that I am seen, I get the returns and the customers coming to me, what is it that you offer me?
Well, we have packages where we build out your graphics, we manage that posting schedule. We also have consultations where we can just advise you if you don't want to come on board and have that hour and a half conversation, and we discuss areas that you can improve on. We do marketing strategies as well. We also offer training sessions where we kind of train you on how to use different social media elements, or we just train you on a kind of anything to do with developing your business element as well. But that's just kind of, and we also offer photography as well. But we just kind of offer a range of business services so that people have the option to kind of do everything in-house with us.
I love this. How to make your business epic. Not normal, epic, as a matter of fact. Zai Social is the headline right there. You're having an upcoming webinar, and it's called Winning with Social Media. Who are you offering this to?
This webinar would be for people who now coming onto social media with their business platform and kind of now trying to understand how this whole giant really works, how this machine works. So we are offering this free, you know, we all love free webinar, so you can kind of learn to understand the algorithms behind the social media, how to develop strategies, how to post, because yes, people just think you just click, but there are other things that you can do, how to monitor habits on social media, because we want to promote, but are we getting that return, you know? So we just kind of delving into those different elements behind the giant of social media.
All right. So the webinar is on the 24th of September, 11 days from now. And you want people to go where to register?
You can go to our website, zyesocial.com, or you can also .com, yes, or you can also visit our Instagram or Facebook page to also get a link so that you can register. And once you register, we will send you the details and an email after you have signed up.
All right, so this is open to any and everyone, especially those of you who are entrepreneurs, small businesses as well, and you're struggling for recognition, you're struggling for returns on your investment, you're struggling for patronage and customer retention as well. That as well. So we want to be able to, through Zai Social, to offer you the opportunity to win on your social media platforms. And I think it's also important for larger companies as well. Give me your assessment of how larger companies in Barbados have been able to leverage themselves in the social media space. What do you think?
I find that larger companies are leaning more to influencer marketing, and they're teaming up with a host of individuals who have that impact. Even if we look at the campaign and the campaign to get people to wear more masks during this whole pandemic, they are teaming up with key celebrities, key people who have a platform to go there that idea or their business. So I think we are heading in the right direction in terms of the business environment in Barbados, because we also just need to team up with some people sometimes to get the word out there.
So what else do we need to do to be better at leveraging ourselves?
Pardon? Can you repeat the question?
Sorry. What else? You said we can work alongside influencers. That's one avenue. That's one approach. What else can we do so that we can actually, as larger companies on the island, be able to capitalize on the social media space?
We also need to be interested in how we need to look at how you tell your story. Is it something that people can relate to? You know, you don't just want to push your services like, I do this, I do this. You need to kind of form some kind of visual identity, some type of language, some type of tone where customers can, you know, internalize, because in this new age of social media, that's not about pushing. You kind of have to develop a conversation with people through your imagery, through the tone of message that you use in terms of your captions, so that people will want to share that information, comment, and interact. So it's all about creating that persona on your page, on your website, just on any platform. And also, just because it's social media, it doesn't mean that you have to be on every site. You have to select which audience works for you and which platform you can maintain.
Philippa,
So that's some of my advice.
I am impressed by you because you've hit all of the marks for me. You've done so very well. And so I really want to encourage everyone now. Now you see, because it's a young phase, she is capable. And so through Zai Social, they can make a difference with you as well in the upcoming webinar, Winning with Social Media. It's on the 24th of September. You go to zaisocial.com, Z-Y-E social, SOCIAL.com/webinar, and you can sign up right there. And right away you're in for a chance to win with social media, in winning with social media. Let them elevate your brand. And so how many other people are a part of Zai Social, by the way, Philippa?
We have two others who assist, but one is a silent partner, but two other people are also associated with the brand.
Well, congratulations. You're on to a great thing here. I could feel the energy and the
Thank
passion.
you.
And I want it to be a success. I really want folks to go to zaisocial.com and sign up and be a part of this upcoming webinar on the 24th of September. All the best, Philippa. All the best.
Thank you so much, Pearson.
You're welcome. You're
Have
very
a great
welcome.
day.
You do too. Thank you. Philippa Joseph was a co-founder of Zai Social. Isn't it fantastic the work that our young people are doing? We're coming right back after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 25 minutes after 7 o'clock. Our next couple guests will talk a little bit about hard ears. And when I heard, I thought hard ears, you wouldn't hear, own way you would feel. And I kept wondering, what is this about? Well, they'll tell us about it now. Matthew Clark, who is co-author and illustrator, and Nigel Lynch, co-authors of the book Hard Ears. Good morning to you, gentlemen.
Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning, Pearson. Good morning, Barbados.
Two young faces here on the screen again with me this morning. So, gentlemen, tell me about Hard Ears. What's that about?
Well, basically, Hard Ears is an Afro-Caribbean graphic novel. It is set in a fantasy magical analog based on the English-speaking Caribbean. And the story tells a narrative of an island who is recovering from the devastation of a storm. And the antagonist, Mr. Harding, he enters the situation and tries to exploit the people. And our protagonist, Bolo, he is part of a liberation movement.
It's a fanciful story. It's some dreamt up by someone. Which of you dreamt this first?
I would say it was Matthew's idea. He came to me with the idea, and we kind of discussed it and kind of spitballed some ideas around, and it kind of grew from there. It took us about maybe like 3 years to kind of plan it and bring it all together.
It's not a comic. Is it a comic or is it a book?
It's a comic.
It's a graphic novel.
It's a
yeah. So it's about over 208 pages.
It's a book.
Yeah, and it's significant because it's the first Caribbean graphic novel by a major publisher. So it's historic from that standpoint. So it's really our foot in the door in the comic book industry.
I know your foot is in the door. I hope the door hasn't slammed shut on it, right?
No, definitely not. We have a few more titles in the works.
Good. That is good to hear. But Matthew, you're also an illustrator. And so when we turn the pages of the book Hard Ears, will we see a lot of your illustrations, or is it simply on the covers?
No, the entire book I illustrated. And you will see a lot of familiar characters in there from Barbadian folklore, as well as English-speaking Caribbean folklore. You'll see images of the land ship, some familiar characters like shaggy bears, etc. So it is the first time we will be seeing these cultural icons in this format, really, and the world will be seeing this for the first time in this format.
Yeah, Nigel, you are not a stranger to writing. You've done some work before, Shades of Grey, Life and Death in Paradise, and so forth. You've won some awards as well at Addy. Talk to me a little bit about your influence in this particular production.
Well, when I came on board, really what Matthew came up with the idea, but what I kind of worked on would be the structure and make sure that the story arc, the plot, and that kind of stuff made sense, and we kind of, just to keep it flowing. So that, because sometimes as an artist, the artist will kind of come up with these ideas and they need someone to kind of keep them on track. So that's kind of what my job was in this process. So it's almost like a director.
So how do you know when the story has come to an end?
Well, every good story has a beginning, middle, and end. So when you begin, you should never really start a story without even knowing where it's going to end. So from the time we did it, we knew where it was going to end, and because it was done on the iconic Mr. Harding, we knew that in the end, not to spoil it, Mr. Harding got a burn, so that's kind of how we kind of work with it.
So whatever happens, Mr. Harding has to burn, and then you work backwards from there. But why Matthew, why the name Hard Ears?
The name is a term we all grew up with, is very familiar, and it kind of spoke to the resistance movement that is featured in the book, as well as an analog for that sense of being on almost like a resistance,
bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
So
that.
Go ahead.
Sorry, continue. No, I was just saying that name was very suited to the subject matter.
Let's talk about moving from.
Let's
talk about moving from manuscript now to publication. Who did that, and who published, and what was the process like in getting to publishing?
Initially, the book was published by Beyond Publishing, which is our company. It was self-published in single issues, and it was available in 5 issues. Then it was discovered by Abrams Publishing. They reached out to us, and we compiled the book into one graphic novel. And this is what we have today, the actual book here. And this is the paperback with the jacket.
Right.
A softback would also be available in 2022.
So it's the hardcover. Nigel, in terms of getting it out and marketing from here on in now, so how do people, what is the plan, and into what markets are you hoping to put this book, Hard Ears?
Okay, so the idea is to kind of sell the book worldwide, and it It's distributed on Amazon right now. We're trying to get it into some of the bookstores in Barbados, but with the pandemic and certain things going on, that has been a bit of a struggle. So hopefully next year things will pick up, because even with marketing, it's still hard with shipping, and stores some bookstores are kind of actually going out of business here. So it's been a bit of a struggle.
Yeah, I really hope that struggle dissolves very, very soon and becomes a whole lot easier.
Right.
Go ahead,
that was internally here, but overseas has been well received.
Fantastic.
In the North American and the UK market, because it is an export product.
Yeah, and there's a big market up there for that as well. You know,
yes.
What ages are you targeting through the book Hard Ears?
Teenagers to adults. You know, it is for all ages. It also has an educational component. There's an afterword by Professor Kathy Thomas in the back of the book. So there is a quasi-educational component to the novel.
Have you guys given consideration to also having the same book but translated into different languages, so that other people of other cultures and languages can also be a part of this mythical island?
Yeah,
it's still a possibility.
Yeah, because we're toying with that idea. So, you know, soon you may see a French adaptation.
Or Spanish.
Or Spanish, indeed, gentlemen. Look, this sounds so really, really good indeed. Hard Ears is what it's called. It's available on Amazon at the moment. You're working to get it into bookstores here on the island. You can get your own copies, folks. It's called Hard Ears by Matthew Clark and Nigel Lynch. And it is a good read. It is a fictional, but it's graphic. It's going to be fantastic as you turn the pages, and you can't put it down because Mr. Harden must burn. And so we can't wait to get into those pages as well. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us this morning to explore with you.
Thank you for having us.
Hard Ears. You're very welcome. Matthew Clark and Nigel Lynch, the co-authors of the book Hard Ears. We're coming back after this with more on Morning Barbados. 25 minutes now to 8 o'clock. It is so heartening to see Barbadians doing things from home, using their creativity, their skill, their God-given talents to make it. And so this morning we're joined now by our next guest. Her name is Kim Butcher. She's the owner and creative director behind Okoye by Kim. Good morning to you, Kim.
Good morning, Pearson, and good morning, Barbados. How are you?
I'm doing well today. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic.
That's good to hear. What is Okoye by Kim?
Yes. Well, let me first tell you what Okoye means. Okoye means three things: strength, resilience, and marketplace. Three very important words. And I reflected during the lockdown about how I could assist and how I could help Barbadians. I wanted to help my community. And I thought about what skills and talents I have that I can use to monetize. There are a lot of people who were losing their jobs. People were just unsure about what was going to happen next. So I said, you know what? We have to help each other. Each one help one. So I said, let me produce a product. And Okoye means strength and resilience, but it also means marketplace. Buying and selling locally is imperative. We have to support each other. So I said, you know what, let me think about a product. And my product was wrap belts, an OB belt, which is a wrap belt that you wear around your waist. Now, I wanted to address a few things. First, we were sitting down for about a year. So there were some changes to our bodies. And people didn't, there were some changes.
That's true.
It's true. We're sitting down. But you know what? We want to feel confident. And Okoye is about celebrating body positivity. Our belts cinch your natural silhouette. So we want women to feel confident when they wear our belts. Every Wednesday is Wear Your Waist Wednesday because we are celebrating your waist, whatever it is. We want women to celebrate their waist. And we want people to use all of their skills and talents. This is an opportunity now for people to think, hey, you know what skills and talents do I have that I can use to monetize?
Yes.
For me, it's part of building the gig economy. We have to think about what skills we have. If we are bakers, if we are carpenters, what are all of our skills that we can use and monetize them to help support our families and our communities? So that's what Okoye is about. Two things: celebrating our fabulousness and, of course, making money.
Of course it is, indeed. Now, this started in September last year, on the 30th of September, as a matter of fact. And, you know, ever since then, how has it been for you?
It has been truly an experience. I've learned a lot because fashion is something that I wasn't into before, but I'm learning a lot about fabrics and textures and design. I'm learning about entrepreneurship in this way.
Yes.
And the response has been overwhelming. There are lots of women who come and they wear my belts and they're like, yes, this has done what I want for me and for my shape and my body. And the thing is, what we were committed to doing is that every time some person purchases a belt, we are giving part proceeds to helping another micro entrepreneur on their journey. So we really and truly want to give back. It's a cycle. Each one help one. That's the only way we're going to really survive, is by building community and sharing. We have two collections of our Okoye belts. So we have our classic collection, which is a solid colored belt. So if you want to add a little bit of structure to your monochromatic look, you can get the classic collection. And then we have our Calypso collection. Our Calypso collection is all about color, texture. So we marry batik, we marry Ankara. So we have fabrics that are really and truly celebrating the Caribbean.
Yes.
All of the colors, all of the textures. So if persons are interested, any at all, in any of our belts, you know, you can come and find us on Okoye by Kim on Instagram, and you can also find us on Facebook as well.
Right. Now, it's one thing to say, you know what, I have a skill set and therefore I want to be able to explore it, but to actually move that thought into actual production, how is that for you? Who are you the one who sits down and stitches everything together to make the final belt product, or do you work with other people to do that for you?
I do work with other people. Collaboration is an imperative, and entrepreneurs need to know what their skill sets are and then where in areas pulling individuals. So I actually have a manufacturer. So during the lockdown, yes, someone who made uniforms, and I said, you know what, I have an idea. And she was keeping, her business was continuing because she was making belts. So diversification. So Okoye really is a team of persons. Yes, I'm the creative director, but I have someone who helps with my social media. I have someone who is responsible for my manufacturing, and it's a family affair. My parents help me as well with my packaging and my branding. So it's really and truly helping as many people as possible, and we give back. So every time somebody does purchase a belt, there's an entrepreneur or a micro entrepreneur who's starting out that we gift some assistance to them.
When you stop to just reflect, let's say you just laid on at night one night and you thought, oh my goodness, look at what I've become. Have you had that moment? And if so, what do you say then to yourself?
I believe I had that moment when I saw my packaging for the first time.
Yes.
And I thought, yes, I have turned an idea into a product. And I felt proud of myself. I felt proud of my family. I felt proud of the people who were purchasing belts. I really think it's a journey, and I'm now a part of Nudge Caribbean, so I'm a part of some other micro entrepreneurs, and we have 6 weeks of pop-up in Massy supermarkets, Sunset Crest and Warrens, and I'm just like, I am really pleased that there are people who love the message of Okoye, which is about strength and resilience, which is what we all need at this time, but that people are buying, and that's what's really important. We need to support local micro entrepreneurs and small business. That is the only way we're really going to get through this time that we're getting through, is that each one help one. And that has been really good for me and my business.
You're absolutely right. Each one help one. We need to buy local. And so let's flash back to maybe 3 years ago. Kim Butcher, did you see yourself doing what you're doing now 3 years ago?
No. I didn't see myself doing this exactly, but I like to use all of my skills and my talents. I think that, we are gifted with skills, and we really and truly need to use all of them. So you can be, as I tell you, can be fully gainfully employed and still pursue entrepreneurship. We now need to be thinking about using everything in our arsenal to support ourselves, to support our families, and to support our communities. So yes, you go to school and you get the qualifications, and you do look for that good job. But we are in a time now where we need to be agile. We need to be thinking about, what else can I do? How else can I give back? How else can I monetize my skills? This is the emergence of what I believe will be the gig economy, where people now are thinking about doing a multiplicity of things, and it's very important. And one of the things that we want to do with Okoye is that we want to celebrate those people who are doing a number of different things. And if you want to find somebody, you want to find somebody to take care of your kids, to walk your dog, to pack up, stuff that you need. There are people who have skills. This is how, we are going to help each other in this process, because you may not get that job.
I'm glad you said that, because I was listening to you just now. I kept thinking, but all right, we have the passion, but we don't know where to start. And you say, at Okoye, you can help me find that starting point, or point me in the direction I need to do. So for anyone watching today who has the same drive as you, who's disturbed in their consciousness about wanting to do more, wanting to do better, but don't know where to start, how can they reach you, Kim?
You can reach me. You can contact me at 266-0779. That's my direct number. You can send a WhatsApp to me at the number 231-0779, or you can send me an email at okoyebelts@gmail.com. And it really starts with just looking at what skills you have. What are your passions? Yes, your qualifications are very important, but what is it that you love to do? What is it that you're skilled at doing? That's really the starting point. And I do this thing called Behind the Brand with Butcher, where I talk about the reality of small business and starting your own business, and not having money for raw materials. I started buying 2 yards of fabric at a time. It's just really and truly starting, and that's what we need to do. We need to start. And once you start, things will fall into place.
And here you are now.
You need a little confidence sometimes.
Exactly. And there you are, full of confidence. So much so that you're going to be on display at Massey. Is it Massey Sunset Crest this weekend?
Yes, Massey Sunset Crest. We have another story of Wear Your Waist Weekend, where we encourage women to celebrate your waist. So whatever it is, Wear Your Waist Weekend continues at Massey Sunset Crest.
All right, so I want to see again some of there we go. We're on your Instagram page now, and we're seeing all of these wonderful images of people and the kind of products that you sell as well. And scroll for me, folks, scroll for me. There we go. And it's for all ages. It doesn't matter age or size, nothing. And there are no restrictions, right?
There are no restrictions. Our belts are 113 inches end to end. If you want to have customization, that is also possible as well. So your waistband is a band, and then there are two ties. So if you want to have a solid colored belt, that is called the classic collection. If you want to have a belt that has more color and more zhuzh in your personality, that is the Calypso collection. And our belts are reversible as well. So you can wear them on the plain side one day, you can have the colored on the other day, really and truly, and they can be worn with anything. So pants, dresses, skirts, jumpers, the full gamut. And when we think about sustainability in our wardrobe, you want to have something that can transition your wardrobe. We believe in elevating your look effortlessly, and that's what we're all about.
That is beautiful.
Enhancing your natural silhouette.
On the screen, everyone, are all of her contacts right there. By email, it's okoyebelts@gmail.com. That's OKOYE belts@gmail.com. On Instagram, it's the same, Okoye by Kim, Okoye by Kim. You can send her a WhatsApp to 231-0779 or call her on 266-0779. And that's it right there, Okoye by Kim. It is fantastic, Kim. Which is so wonderful meeting you, the great work that you're doing. Congratulations. And what I like most is that you're not just making it for yourself, but you're helping others make it as well. That's so important.
Exactly. Thank you so much. And morning, Barbados, everybody.
Morning indeed. Thank you so much too. We're coming right back after this with more on Morning Barbados. You know, you meet some interesting people in your life and you're happy to see their development. One of them is Denise Blackman. Denise, good morning to you.
Morning, Kirsten. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Look at you with all that hair, Denise. It's been a while.
It's only getting bigger. It's only getting bigger.
It's really beautiful indeed. Folks who don't know, Denise would have been here working with us for just a short while. And, you know, Denise, I would have seen you so quiet yet inquisitive. Didn't know you had all of this passion in you. Because you later went on then to Brazil, I think it was, to do some overseas studies as well?
Yeah, I did. That was back in the day, yeah. I left there and I was in Brazil for 3 years to do journalism.
And how was that?
Came back. Sorry, then I came back to join you guys again after that, before leaving.
Now your life is so storied because I knew you from print. You used to work with one of our local prints, and then you came to the CBC. You were working with us, doing a lot of your news work and so forth in the newsroom, and then you left and you went to study. You came back and then you went off again. So where are you now?
So right now I'm actually home in Barbados, and I have been since COVID hit.
Okay.
So before that, I had gone off to Birmingham in the UK to study film and video research and production. And I was there for about 3 years before, 1 year studying, 2 years working, and then, you know, COVID brought me back home.
Yeah.
Kind of happy to be here right now.
The film and video production work, was that also always alongside your passion for journalism and writing and also languages?
To be honest, it all falls into this category of storytelling. So I started off in print, and as the love for storytelling was always there. It's always been there since I was a child. And then the transformation to digital, now that opened up a new world, and I realized, okay, well, yeah, you can write, but you can also use and music and a number of additional creative ways to tell the story. And I think that was really highlighted when I was doing my the digital broadcast work. So after a while, I realized I actually have a love of documentaries, and then I just tried to pursue that. So it's only after that that I realized I also have a love for fiction and other forms of narrative storytelling. So I think it's all included in this love for storytelling.
What do you think is the lesson in all of that that we can all learn from?
Well, I always believe that there is a story in everything, and everybody has a story to tell. You can sit down and watch like the synopsis of a story that seems so uninteresting about, you know, a migrant worker in the villages of Peru, and you're like, oh, that's not my thing. I don't think I'll be interested. But when you see it on screen and when you think about it in context, it can easily become your favorite film. Filmmaker's job is really to take you into a place, to put you in the shoes of somebody that you never would have imagined or you never would have gotten the opportunity to otherwise. So I think there's a lot of empathy involved in both telling and watching other people's stories. And it is a learning exercise, but it also helps us to become closer in that way also.
While in Birmingham, you started this thing called Caribbean Pop-Up Cinemas. Talk to us about that and why you decided to start that.
Okay, so I was in Birmingham. I was doing my master's in film and television research and production. And while doing that, taking advantage of the opportunities, I was getting involved in a lot of film events, film programming, film festivals. And to get really involved in these film events. I was doing film programming for people and organizing film events for people, and then I realized, I actually really like this quite a bit. And so I thought, this is something that I possibly could do for myself. And then I person, when you're abroad,
yes,
and you are away from home, you realize what is that matters to you. The things that matter come out. So the things that you miss, you feel more strongly. The things that you can't find there, you try to create a space for them there. I think a lot of us have had that experience.
Yes.
So while being there, I thought, you know what? Of all these film events that I'm doing, of all these programs, these films that I'm programming for other people, what is missing is like my authentic stories, like stories from home. The Caribbean population in the UK is quite big. There are over 500,000 Caribbean people there. And in many ways, they're quite underrepresented. And the film industry is, part of that as well.
Right.
There are not enough Caribbean people working in film. And this could be, first generation Caribbean people who've been there from Windrush all the way down to their second generation offspring and third generation grandchildren. There are not enough involved on screen or off screen, and there's not enough involved. There's not enough representation on screen of our stories, whether the British experience of the Caribbean person or the home ex of a Caribbean person. And I wanted to bring that because I wasn't seeing that at all. So through the support of Cinema for All, which is a body over there that I'm involved with now, I started this Caribbean pop-up cinema. Really to have that representation, to create a space where Caribbean people in the UK could see themselves and representation on screen, but also a way to promote more Caribbean filmmakers and create an avenue for them to get on these UK screens, catch the eyeballs of these UK audiences. And overall, it's really to create a taste for Caribbean cinema, so that there's a route to screen for the filmmakers, whether they're already established or whether they're emerging and they just don't know what to do with their film once they've made it. But also to let the Caribbean people and my Caribbean community in the UK know, well, somebody here's looking out for you.
Yes. So how difficult or not has it been in acquisition, though, of the content to be a part of the Caribbean Cinema Pop-Up?
Sorry, Pearson, can you repeat that question?
The acquisition of content to be a part of the Caribbean Pop-Up Cinema, how was that for you?
It's a bit tricky because if I am screening, let's say, a different international film or a North American film, there's an easy, quick way for me to just go on a particular site, type in the name, the film pops up, I see the contact information, I find that person. the Caribbean film industry is a bit more fledgling, and so it's much more difficult to find Caribbean films, and then also to have that acquisition, that route to screen that I was out. So most of the times the filmmakers act as their own distributors. You contact the producers or the directors directly to screen. It's not as straightforward, but it's a bit more rewarding as it puts you in direct contact with these filmmakers. But yes, it's a bit of a hodgepodge way, really.
Right.
And it takes a lot of groundwork to find the films. There are not many Caribbean film festivals, although there are some, and they really are quite good. There's not of ways to find the films outside of attending these particular festivals and doing a lot of groundwork to find them. They're not going to come to you.
I could well imagine the challenge there it is, but you persist and now it's happening. What's been the response so far, though, to the initiative, the Caribbean Pop-Up Cinema?
The response has been really, really good. At the events that I held in Birmingham, a lot of first, second generation Caribbean people coming out saying that this is the first time that they've heard their accent on screen. When I first started, I started screening classic Caribbean films. So, the Rockers, The Harder They Come. And so it was just bouts of nostalgia that we would have in the cinema. People saying they haven't seen this film for years, but then I also find it important to screen contemporary films so that first-time filmmakers or second, third-time filmmakers get their work seen. And it's pretty refreshing. A lot of feedback is that they don't know where they would have seen films like this in the UK if they hadn't attended the event. So I think it really is a very niche market for people who are appreciative of that content.
You're doing a great work, Denise Blackwell. I'm so immensely proud of you. Who would have thought that Denise, I thought you were the journalist, but here it is now. She's the entrepreneur with the Caribbean Pop-Up Cinemas in Birmingham and doing more work as it relates to film and advocacy and a whole host of things as well. Denise, thank you for joining us this morning. Continue your journey through life. You're doing exceptionally well. It's our pleasure talking again with you today.
Thanks so much, Pearson. And I am on social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if anybody wants to follow.
As Dennis Blackman. Or as Caribbean Pop-Up Cinemas. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now, don't forget, folks, that today, as our summit, the global summit coming up, UNTAD, happens, the global forums will continue today. They're looking at global commodities. Remember to go to untad15.org and you can participate by registering fast, untad15.org. Prosperity for All, the global commodities at forum today from 13th until the 15th. It's going to be really good information and we'll remind you as the days draw closer. Well, that's it for today. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, should it be God's will. Until then, good morning.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.